Hey guys, it's Deni, as always. Today you are waiting for the very, almost dying genre which is waiting for rebirth in the near future. Great strategies, especially real-time ones, don't come out often, so I decided to collect some of the best ones for you lately. Click on the like, click on subscribe if you haven't already, and let's go. Do you miss adrenaline and dynamic gameplay? The perfect place to get it all? Good old Crossout. Tense battles, dozens of different vehicles, and hundreds of parts for their customization are waiting for you. You can make a powerful, bulletproof tank and destroy your enemies just by the look of it. Or make something smaller, but fast, and get in the back of unsuspecting enemies. In any case, Crossout is the best place to show everyone who is a real pro. Download the game at the link in the description. Let's start with the game I've been playing for the last couple of days. Age of Empires 4, probably the benchmark real-time strategy game you can find right now. Age of Empires 4 made a huge leap in terms of the diversity of nations. There are 8 realistically very different nations with their own strengths and weaknesses waiting for you. The Chinese collect gold from their own buildings, and the English are strong in defense. Visually, this is probably the most beautiful strategy at the moment, and gameplay-wise, the game has not undergone any global changes. You still start the game with 6 peasants, a scout, and a couple of sheep near the base, and further, the faster and smarter you develop, the more chances you have to win. The game also has a company you can go through, and there's even a company editor and modding, allowing you to play this game endlessly. Oh, and yes, about Infinity. Multiplayer, it's there, it works, and you can easily battle with other players. If Age of Empires 4 emphasized on competent positioning, systematic but rapid development, then Cossacks 3 for me was always about mass battles. Troops of thousands of units on the screen here is normal. Part 3 is basically a remake of the good old Cossacks. Many people don't like the game with arguments like bad graphics or nothing new, but sometimes it's better to look at the old game in a new way than to suffer from the innovations that ruined it. Moreover, the developers copied the second part of Cossacks for the most part, so gameplay is good here. Plus will be an live multiplayer in this game. Of course, there are not thousands of players here, as in principle and in most strategies, but to find someone to fight with will not be difficult. In general, the game is good. And this is an RTS strategy in a fantasy setting where we are trying to build a defense on a very dangerous terrain. Opposing us are hordes of undead scattered across the map. From time to time our base is attacked by a huge horde, which with each wave is getting bigger. The main quest of the game is to survive all attacks and clear the map. You start playing as usual with an undiscovered map, one building, and a couple of units. Raise food production, population, and so on. In general, maximally build up before darkness falls. And yes, in the game there is a change of day and night, and at night the enemies are much more active. From the cool features in the spirit of Warcraft 3, we have heroes which together with the squad we can send to beat the evil. And so after the first 3 days comes the first severe test. The fog clutches our settlement and hordes of undead are rushing to the citadel. We build walls, towers, and units, and the longer you play it, the stronger you develop, and the more undead plan to gut you. Amidst the popularity of Dune, it's definitely worth reminding you about the excellent strategy game Dune Spice Wars. If you have played the previous project of Shiro Games studio Northgard, then a lot of things will seem familiar to you. The only thing is that they added 4x strategy format. The gameplay takes place on a randomly generated map divided into areas tied to neutral settlements, which you need to capture or peacefully persuade to submit. Of the non-usual highlights, the game itself is steeped in politics, and it's even more leisurely than Northgard. For a real-time strategy game, this is rare. and this is something minimalistic, small, with notes of tower defense, but much more dynamic than the last game. It's a base defense game and planning your castle with a bunch of possible builds. The whole economy in the game is gold coins, which you will get every day. The days here are local rounds. You decide what you need before the next night. During the day you build, there is no time limit to think about it, and at night the defense phase already starts. You either get greedy and spend money on economic buildings and try to save them at night, because everything that will be destroyed at night will not give income, or you strengthen the defense, towers, walls, infantry, heroes, and so on. And this simplicity is a very big payoff. On the one hand, it seems to you that everything in the game is made simple, but on the other hand, it is so well polished that you endlessly enjoy literally every action. It's strange that we haven't had anything in the WW2 setting yet, and there are tons of real-time strategies in this setting, but we'll probably focus on one of the last ones, Company of Heroes 3. To begin with, it is far from perfect, especially against the background of a large set of small bugs and frankly weak single-player campaign. In terms of gameplay, 3-part almost does not differ from the previous parts. First you learn how to manage troops, then you choose the campaign, watch a short introductory video, and go to fulfill missions. With the fulfillment of each of them, you get closer to the global goal of the campaign. By the way, there are pluses of the game on the background of the previous parts, especially when it comes to building a base. Here you don't even need engineers. Everything is literally built in 2 clicks. As for the battles, the game is a bit different from the usual real-time strategy. You have to manage literally every soldier, look for different shelters for them, run away from grenades and so on, all because the skirmishes here are small squads, and hiring new soldiers is extremely expensive. In general, the game turned out to be quite well thought out. Warhammer universe is too rich in terms of games. There are a lot of shooters and strategies too. The only thing is that most of them are turn-based. But there are not so many RTS, and the most popular one is probably Warhammer Dawn of War 3. Traditionally, the game has a story campaign of 17 missions, and this time you can play the game alternately for all 3 sides of the conflict. Each faction has its own heroes, elite units, and even giant fighting machines. Well, the whole set of RTS strategies is also there. Base development, soldier production, heroes improvement, and so on. Visual part in general is also good. In short, at first glance, the game is normal, but I'm not a fan of the universe and I can't objectively shit this game as people who know it do. Anyway, it's hard to find something better than this RTS from Warhammer universe. And this is the real legend. If you have played the original Stronghold and were dragged by the elaboration of this game, where to make one archer, you need people to fell trees at the sawmill, others sawed them, others created a bow, and someone else took it to the warehouse and so on, then congratulations. This game gives such conveyor factory emotions. It's also all about real-time strategy and enemies that attack your castle in bunches. This is a real masterpiece in the world of strategies, combining city building simulator, social, and military element, and the updated version pleases with pleasant graphics. Bonus, added new story missions, and periodically released new content for hardcore fans. I'm waiting for Starcraft 3, but so far there's nothing but insider info that Blizzard is making it. The second installment of Starcraft is still easily a tense but really benchmark RTS game. There are 3 completely different playable races waiting for you, where it won't take much time to learn how to play more or less. But to play at the level of a pro, you will need more than 1 year of real time. I think there is no sense to tell a lot about Starcraft, the game, so everyone is familiar and knocked up in the top simply because there are almost no analogs to it. A couple of words about the game, which was made by the same developers as Dune, only Northgard was made earlier, and then, surprisingly for our time, they have been supporting it for several years. They added almost 3 times as many different clans as there were at the start of early access. The issue is that all of them are of course bought with money, but that's a small thing. Gameplay. You are waiting for a great medieval RTS strategy about the Vikings with leisurely gameplay, where the basis of everything is not only battles, but but also the survival of your tribe. Watch out for the development of the settlement, for the happiness of the townspeople, for what and on what territory to put, and plus resources are still to be extracted. They are spent, by the way, also not standard. In summer, everything is great, the expense is not great, but with the onset of winter, soldiers fight worse, and the consumption of wood and food increases, so that here, it is important even what time of day you plan your raids on neighbors. All in all, an extremely well thought out and very atmospheric game. And as a bonus, I'll tell you that we'll soon be getting a re-release of a game from my childhood, Age of Mythology Retold. This is a remake with updated graphics of the game, which is like 2 drops of water similar to Age of Empires, but only in the setting of ancient peoples, Greeks, Egyptians, or Vikings. We will be waiting for a company of 50 different missions, battles in the arena, and then multiplayer for 11 people. When exactly this game will be released has not been announced yet. We only know that it will be this year, so we wait. Well, that's all for today. I hope you found something interesting for you and therefore clicked, and on the like, and on the subscription too. Well, with you was as always Deni, and all the best.